I am thrilled to welcome Patrick Bruce, the co-founder of Titan Intake, to our pod. Patrick's on a mission to help 100 million patients access better care, making health data liquid, easily accessible across healthcare systems. He is my friend, and I hope you'll join me for this fantastic conversation. Okay, let's talk about other things that I really want to chat about. Let's talk about healthcare startups. So you founded a company. How long's Titan Intake been around?
Oh, a little over two and a half years.
Two and a half years.
Yeah.
And tell me about the process of, did you know Jonathan and Rachel before? Like, how do you find co-founders?
Yeah,
Because that's really important.
It was a lot of happenstance and luck in my case. It all starts, I call Jonathan the godfather of Titan Intake. Okay?
Yes.
Jonathan worked for a very large healthcare company, McKesson Specialty Health.
That's right.
And traveled around basically retooling oncology clinics with the latest and greatest tech. And if you've ever been involved in healthcare technology and healthcare IT, you will know ancient technology that is used.
Oh, for sure.
To transfer out patient records, and so he recognized this market opportunity that no one has a good solution for basically incoming records. So, but he traveled around the country seeing this in oncology clinics, and then he actually moved to Tulsa about three
Did he do
ago.
the George Kaiser program?
Yeah, so he was recruited through and applied to the Tulsa Remote program.
That's right.
And he and his wife actually were both accepted and moved from Houston.
That's his hometown.
Remote tech, yeah, moved from Houston to Tulsa, and he went to some mixer through Tulsa Remote and met a professor who's also in venture, William Paiva.
Oh, yeah.
With the Oklahoma Life Sciences Foundation.
Great guy.
And he's like, oh, I know this guy's going through the MBA program. He kind of knew me through another professor. Anyway, we were introduced. We just met up at a bar downtown, and like literally within the first 20 minutes, we were talking, and our backgrounds overlapped. We both understood this problem. It was like, we like to say it was a bromant. We had a bromant that we're like, oh my gosh. We were like, we could solve this problem.
Yes.
It was really, and so, I mean, I wish I had better advice for somebody going out and seeking a founder than go have a bromant or something.
Yeah.
But when you find somebody who your background overlaps, who they understand this problem, and then you kind of complement them, and my background kind of complemented him. And then, you know, our third co-founder, Rachel, I met her in one of my final MBA classes, and she was like this missing piece to me and Jonathan's, I would say, set of point of views. And you know, I kind of have a technical background. Jonathan is a kind of the domain expert understanding these healthcare workflows. And Rachel's she's the moxie. She's like a Swiss Army knife of talent, and she runs our sales. So she kind of completed this kind of founding team, and we were off to the races. It was a fun time.
All right, so tell me about the journey. Like, the audience wants to know, right? I want to know. I don't think, I think people see the results, but then, like, I think the journey's where it's at, right? When you share with someone, like, this was way harder than I thought.
Yeah.
These are words, but they don't have any context. And so I think the more I sit down with other co-founders and founders, the more people begin to realize, like, this is not a game. It's not a joke. These are people's lives. And you've dedicated at least this portion of your life to better healthcare and supporting, well, largely it's been private practices. I'm sure you'll get into some health systems.
Yeah.
But you're solving a problem. So tell us about that. Tell us about the journey that is a healthcare startup.
The journey, I mean, you obviously start from zero with a startup, and
you start with negative.
You start with negative.
You're not. You went from making money to not making.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to leave the salary life. As it were, for me and Jonathan, we had established careers, and it's a risk, and you got to really believe that what you're going to do is not only going to work, but work very well.
Really well to make up for all that lost time.
Yep. And you got to really believe in it too, because it's not just, oh, I know this could make some money and I could go do this, but that doesn't get you through. I mean, it's as you know, Dutch, they're ups and downs, insane roller coasters
It's
of
horrible.
emotion, and you have to, they say grit, but I think the right term is resilience.
Resilience.
You really have to have that in spades. So, but you have to have the mission driven, I think, to get you through those times. So just say that's
like
that's
I hear
the
all the
journey.
time that people do it for money, and I just can't imagine that anyone would.
Yeah.
Because like, where's the resilience part come from if you're just doing it for the almighty dollar? Oh, you're going to make $5 million in 3 years if you just like are homeless, work really hard.
Yeah.
Everybody's mad at you at one time or another. You're having a hard time with your employees, good times, bad times. There's just up and down roller coaster. Like that's not worth the trade.
Yeah, look, any good startup tech founder could go cash in and go work for one of the big tech companies and get a cushy, awesome job and have a cool campus. Go work on the Google.
Some days I wish I'd have done
Go work on the Google campus where they have like slides and like free. I think they have like free house cleaning or something. They have crazy benefits.
They have all kinds of stuff. No, I have friends that work at all of them. Like I've got buddies at Meta that are like, "Oh, dude, it's just the greatest."
I try not to think about it actually.
Yeah.
No, but
the MJ companies sponsor this podcast, which is your solution for reducing expenses and enhancing financial health in private practices and physician-owned hospitals. The MJ companies understand that managing employee benefits and insurance expenses are crucial, so they provide solutions that make a difference. Their employee benefits program leverages domestic networks and captive insurance options to lower expenses while maintaining high-quality coverage for your staff. Additionally, the MJ companies offer top-of-the-line property casualty coverage to protect every aspect of your practice. These cost-saving measures help you reallocate resources where they matter most, delivering quality care. If reducing expenses while keeping coverage strong is a priority, check out what the MJ companies can do for you at themjcompanies.com.
But you have to be willing to give up all that, right? Constantly, and choose your startup over and over. And it's got to be a real big enough problem that needs to be solved.
Yeah. So tell me about your problem, the problem you're solving. What we're kind of doing.
So there's many different ways to think about our problem, but fundamentally, there's a problem in healthcare as people travel around the healthcare system. Some people call it care coordination. But as you go from node to node in the healthcare system, your record tries to follow you around, and it never does, because everyone is on these disjointed EMRs that are extremely old. And so what happens is, and most people have experienced this, Dutch, in their life, or one of their family members, right? Let's say you get sent to a kidney doctor for a stone problem or something. Your records or your mom's records will be sent over there, and you won't hear from them for a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then finally you get a call from an unknown number, and they kind of know why you're being sent, and then you show up, you have to fill out all the maddening forms again, and they have no idea.
I already want to
fully
shoot myself
why.
just listening to this part.
So, and the reason why the problem exists is because the state of the art. This is hard to believe.
Yeah.
The state of the art in 2024 in U.S. for the transfer of medical records is fax.
Fax.
It's still fax, man.
Today, right now.
So your whole record just gets sent over in just blob of nothingness, and somebody has to go through that line by line and look at it and try to read it. And it's somebody who's underpaid and overworked, and it's a high turnover position.
Yep.
You have to train them over and over, and stuff gets lost, stuff gets missed. And so
Every day, all day.
every day, and it results in bad.
Yep.
It can result in bad patient outcomes or delay of care, and also just extreme high costs for physician practices. They have to staff. They have to deal with these incoming records in order to see the patient.
So what do you do that solves these challenges that we're facing?
Right. So we're an LLM company. Right, we're a large language model AI company, and we've built a tech that can read medical records the same way a nurse does, right? And we take the processing of those records from a huge manual process, time intensive, we've speeded up at maybe 20x.
Yep.
But more importantly, what we do is we capture the whole record, understand why that patient is being sent. We're essentially building, if you can think about it, like a clinical navigator.
Yep.
To help the patient get in more accurately and just quicker into. And our focus is on specialty care, because that's where we see, first off, the real severe and chronic care is happening. And that's where this problem that I'm talking about, the transfer of records, the continuity of care, is the most severe. That's the biggest pain point right now. So we're trying to fix it for the specialists.
Dude, I love that.
Yeah.
So give me some scenarios of where customers would use this. So I'm a private practice. I have 50 docs.
Yeah.
Right? Why is this useful for me?
Yeah, if you're a private practice and you have 50 docs and you're a specialist who does surgery,
Yep.
you most likely, if you have 50 docs, you most likely have a team of 12 to 15 people all day long. They're looking at these referrals that come in, these records that come in, and they're trying to get those patients in. And if you're a provider, they're trying to get them on your schedule.
That's right.
And on the correct provider schedule.
That's
right. So you probably have a team of 10 to 15 people. There's 40 to 50% turnover every year on this team. And you have a supervisor of that team, and they're trying to staff this, they're trying to solve the problem, and you're wondering why your schedule is not getting full, or if it's getting full with the wrong types of things. So that's a huge problem. That's a huge problem for you. Why you'd be interested in this is that can optimize that team. That can get rid of maybe 60, 70% of the work that team has to do, of the manual remedial tasks.
Yeah.
And we saw at one practice, man, that before we started, we've been implemented at this practice now for a year. And we've been in business for 2.5 years, so half of our company, we've had this practice using our software. Before they started, they just had turnover in this team, and they instantly had a backlog of something like 1,500
referrals.
1,500 patients just sitting there, waiting to be called.
That's right.
Waiting to be called, waiting to be contacted in some form or fashion. And after we implemented that, something we really do, our clinical navigator piece, we're determining if that patient is urgent, right? So important.
This is like my favorite part of what you do.
The urgent patients clearly need to be seen first, and it differs per specialty, why they're urgent, what diagnosis codes, what type of things, and we've developed this algorithm that helps determine that. So in the first couple months, that practice got rid of their urgency backlog.
Yep.
So, and I remember this like feeling from their clinical supervisor telling me, hey, all of our urgent patients are taken care of same day.
Like they get
every
seen.
day.
Yeah.
Like they're like, oh my gosh. So the urgent patients, that's great. And then, a couple months later, their backlog was 0.
Yeah.
And then here after a year, we find that their staff satisfaction has gone up like 40%, and that their turnover for that position, the position that's just reading these records all day long, has gone way down.
So why is that? Like, what do you, like, if we had to guess, what would it be?
I mean, we like to say we're making the AI do all the dumb tasks, right? We're making all the AI do all the remedial stuff that's mind-numbing, that no human wants to do.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really hard to staff for that. That's where it's really hard to get somebody to constantly do it all day long. So if you remove that, their staff satisfaction goes up, and that's what we saw at this practice. And we really believe at Titan, at this company, that patient satisfaction is connected to staff satisfaction and provider satisfaction.
For sure.
I mean, we believe internally too. Like, look, our customer satisfaction is connected to our internal culture and how satisfied our employees are and happy they are. So
I think one of the things I like most is when we met, I think I introduced you to a couple people that had good work comp programs.
Oh yeah.
And then good personal injury. Of course, I'm always like promoting private practice. Like, just kind of let's talk about that a little bit. Why do people who do personal injury and work comp like it so much?
Yeah, I mean, we have a couple practices down in Dallas and in Houston who have a high volume of PI and workers' comp, and I think there's special There's special requirements around that. You probably
Yep.
know. I mean, there's some lawyers that get involved in some of these things, and so you have to turn around these records and these patients and
Like quick.
like real quick, or they can't be seen, or maybe they can't be qualified for a PI or workers' comp. So the need for speed in those
I feel the
cases,
need.
I feel the need
Yeah.
for speed.
Yeah.
The need for speed very much increases. So
Yep.
we've kind of helped that practice, and now we're co-developing with them, with their help, another algorithm to just identify, oh, that's a PI thing, get it over to this team,
Yes.
and just internally, like I said, the clinical navigator. So now we're developing a different algorithm that can identify those up front.
What I love about this is I'm constantly talking to surgeons and saying, hey, you've got to diversify your payer mix. And so they want to do it. They want to get off of just managed care, right? They're like, well, what alternatives are there? And we're like, well, there's direct to employer, there is workers' comp, there's personal injury, there's direct to consumer or direct to patient cash pay. But when you get any of those four outside of regular managed care, you have to know the urgency of them, which is why we've been telling people about you guys. It's like, hey,
100%.
I have a workers' comp case. Workers' comp was like, hey, if you can't get to these patients in 24 hours, then we're not giving them to you.
Right.
And by the way, there's a bunch of states that don't have a fee schedule for workers' comp. So these are amazing opportunities to make up for the Medicare schedule that you're getting paid. They're amazing ways to make up revenue in other areas where you're not getting paid as much. And so doing PI, work comp, direct comp, like this is a real way to generate some cash. And I'm like, hey, Titan Intake's really kind of a tool that you need to take a look at.
Yeah, and we're just learning all this stuff. We love learning this stuff, and this is what's great about being an early stage startup and getting engaged and just really being obsessed with your customers and their problems. We see ourselves as like putting real intelligence at that first touch of the patient to the practice. And what can you do if you put real kind of automated intelligence there? What can you do with routing and patients and steerage and payer mix? What can you do? So that's what we're figuring out.
You've got some other things coming down the pike. You've talked to me about working on like understanding where your referrals come from.
Yeah. So that is now kind of table stakes for our product. The cool thing about our product is as these records flow in, we're understanding all the underlying data elements that are in there. And instantly, in real time. So we're able to see referral patterns, who's sending you business and what kind of business they're sending you, what kind of caseload they're sending you, what kind of payer mix they're sending you. So typically that information we've seen when we go in and we talk to, and the C-levels obviously are interested in this data.
For sure.
Yeah, typically when we go in and talk to practices, they can get at this data, but it's 6 months to 9 months
It's really hard, man.
like claims data.
Yeah.
So that's something we realized again. And
even
just talking, just obsessing over what our clients need.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, yeah, you need that data. We have that data.
Even the marketers that I've hired, I don't know, 75 to 100 of them in my lifetime. It's hard as a marketer for a large surgical practice to get that information. Because I know that Dr. Smith sent us 8 referrals, but they were all done on the fax. And then we have an e-fax, so I'll go to the e-fax, and I still can't really determine how many did Dr. Smith send me. What I really want to do is pull up a dashboard and go, oh my gosh, this feeds right into my CRM.
Yeah.
And now we track Dr. Smith, and now instead of, this is what I used to do, dear Dr. Smith, we received your referral, right? I would handwrite a note with my big marker. Thank you so much for believing in us. If you need anything, please call my cell. And I would put the cell number of the doc, right? And now it's like, well, no, now it just goes to the CRM and it sends an automated message or a text message and the doc goes, oh, they took care of this patient for me. Because these private practices, they think it's important. Like they give you a referral. They want to know what happened to this patient. And you're kind of making that process work.
Yeah. That's another thing we try to do is close the loop with the sending provider.
Yeah.
We automate the communication there. We automate communication with the patient. we're really discovering what you can do when you place an LLM at that first touch.
Yeah.
And one of the things is what we call referring provider engagement.
Yeah.
And I've seen this from both sides. I mean, you will definitely trust people with your patients and refer them more if they're communicating back to you automatically and
100%,
reliably.
man.
Like, oh, hey, I saw your patient. Hey, your patient was booked. Hey, this was the result of the visit.
Yeah.
So all that stuff, it can be automated.
I love that you use the word care coordination, because that's really what it's like. It's helping or enabling that part. I'm trying to use the word enable more. I seem to like it.
Enable.
Well, it's just like it's this word that just seems so soft and nice. Like, oh, we're enabling. So, like, they have the ability to do it, but you're using technology to enable them.
Right.
Right. And where at first it was like really hard for them, and it was kind of not an easy
And
process.
look, so many people have tried to solve this. The idea of using technology to solve care coordination has been around for a while, right?
For a while,
So many
sure.
people have tried to solve this
for sure.
and come up with care coordination platforms, and you sign up for this, you sign up for this. It's hard because you have to get everyone on that platform, or I mean, even HIEs, if you health information exchanges, big government initiative. Everyone sign up, everyone start exchanging data.
Good luck.
The incentives were not aligned. The solutions were crappy. Imagine that, funded by the government.
Right.
So it never took off, right?
Yeah,
so
it didn't work.
So, not to be too technical here, but one of the underappreciated kind of insights or capabilities of large language models is their ability to structure unstructured data.
Yes.
And this is going to happen across all industries, all enterprise. So anything that was locked in a Word document or a PDF or a fax, now software has the ability to interact with it and automate things inside.
Isn't that amazing?
So
I love that.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening,
that.
and that's why old solutions have failed, and now we're kind of unlocking these new capabilities.
These new ones. Integrity, innovation, action. PHA isn't just talking about change, we're fighting for it. From new healthcare models to collaborations prioritizing patients, we're ensuring the physician's voice is front and center. We're not just physician-led, we're fighting for the future of healthcare. Join the movement with PHA. Go to physicianled.com for more information. Physicians, it's time to take back healthcare.
Yeah.
What other companies, because you and I office in the same place, what other companies are you seeing in the healthcare space that you like? Aside from your own, right? Because we're big fans of our own. But what other ones, are you seeing any that you go, man, I'm really, like, this is a new one, or and I really kind of like what they're doing? Have you run into any?
Yes, there are legion. So I mean, there's another one in our office. You probably met them, Skin Check. I have to mention that.
I love Skin Check.
Skin Check. They've developed an iPhone app that helps dermatologists. Out in the field, patients can take pictures of a skin lesion and see what the likelihood of skin cancer is. It's amazing. And early detection. They can avoid cancer.
These young guys are killing it.
Yeah, my gosh, I wish
it.
I wish I was doing what I mean, those guys are like 25, man. They're killing it.
Like
They're like 10 years ahead of me.
25, that might be old. That might be old. I think they're like 22 or 23.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they are.
Dude,
anyway,
I'm just like, wow, I wish I was them.
Those guys are amazing. There's some other startups, health tech there's a big movement right now to do open source EMRs.
I love that.
I'm a huge fan of that.
Huge.
I can go on and on about EMRs, but they may be part of the problem in digital health.
Oh, significantly. Significant problem.
Yeah, and there's a big movement to open source EMRs. MedPlum is a company that we've partnered with. They have what's called a headless EMR, which is an EMR that can be customized to any practice. And if the industry goes that direction, it's going to unlock many other things too. A lot of the big problems in digital health right now is integration with EMRs and data hoarding, I would say. And
Epic's very good at that. So is Cerner and a bunch of others.
I don't want to name any names. But
I don't care. I'm like, screw all those guys. Punch them in the face.
I posted about this,
it.
but there's a reason why you go back historically why the EMRs have such a stronghold and why there's so many problems that they didn't solve.
Sure.
And your previous guest, you were talking about the ACA and
James Cash.
yes,
The doc. Yeah.
and the ban on physician-owned hospitals. Well, in the ACA and in the high-tech part of ACA too, there was these meaningful use. Sure. What was called meaningful use incentives.
Yeah.
And this was back.
Us old guys remember all that
yes,
stuff.
Yes, this is for the young listeners out there.
Yeah, that's right. No, this is important.
But essentially, what happened is the government was trying to get everyone on an electronic medical record. Most people were paper back then.
Oh,
this
for sure.
is back when I was.
Yeah.
This is back when I was IT director and involved in a lot of these implementations, so I remember it very well. But they subsidized the adoption of these EMRs.
For sure.
And just recently, Bill Gurley at the All In podcast.
I know, I was there.
Yeah, that's right, you were there.
Third row. I'm on the video on YouTube.
Okay. I'm not surprised. I mean, he went off kind of on the regulatory capture that happened during that time. And the EMRs basically wrote the laws for themselves to govern themselves. But more importantly, I think what happened is the software companies were not incentivized to make great software.
No,
the
that's
government was at first incentivizing you, and then it flipped to a fee, a disincentive. Yeah. You got dinged on your CMS fees if you didn't adopt an EMR. It
was like 2% or 2.5% or something like that.
I mean, look, making really great software is already really hard by itself. If you take out the real incentives to make really great software, you're going to make shitty software. And that for me too, it's personal. As you know, my dad is an independent physician. He's a urologist, and I saw them use crappy software forever. And doctors deserve better, patients deserve better. The government removed the incentives to make great software. Yeah.
I feel like we ought to do like an Acquired type
clearly
podcast.
One of my soapbox issues.
Do you ever listen to Acquired? No. The Acquired podcast?
I've heard
they do like 2 or 3 hour long sessions on a topic or a company.
Yeah.
And you and I will do one soon. We need to do it on EMRs. Because they are something that I just absolutely despise. And it's not because I despise software. I mean, I've made most of my money from tech. Yeah. So I'm like, I love software. But what I saw happen in the practice that I worked in at the time, and then we had a big consulting business, the practices that we were consulting at the time around the country. I mean, we were consulting in 17 states where we built surgery centers, and these guys were getting killed. And it was all around this story that you're telling. That's we ought to do like a really long session.
We should.
Because
that could be
a
couple days.
We must.
Could be a couple days podcast.
Right. Maybe we'll get some other people to join us. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. I like these conversations because all this kind of stuff comes out. You find things like, you and I could talk about startups all day, like what's it like to fund. You recently had a funding moment. Yeah. And so, tell me about that.
Yeah.
So you raised some cash?
Yes. So we're
how hard was it?
We're a Tulsa-based health tech company, which is kind of a rare thing, I would say.
It's like Warren Buffett in Omaha. Come on, bro. Come on.
There you go.
That's right.
You're right.
That's the way I look at it.
There we go.
Except we don't eat
Oracle
cheeseburgers.
Of the Plains.
Except you and I no longer eat cheeseburgers every day.
But no, we really it was a tough time to raise in 2023. But at the same time, we had some great traction, and we're solving a great problem that a lot of people understand. But yeah, we had to break out of kind of the Oklahoma funding ecosystem. Although some of our earliest supporters, 46 Capital, have always backed us and got us started. But yeah, we raised a pre-seed in April, 1.3 million pre-seed.
Yay!
Yeah.
Dude, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And that's going to get you through what? You think 12 months, 18 months?
Yes.
The answer is yes to both.
The answer is yes. It will get us through. No, you always want to keep 12 to 18 months of runway, the way you run your finances. But you know how it is with the startup. You're always
fighting, man.
You're always staring into the abyss and chewing glass,
as
Elon Musk says.
I like looking at my bank account and then really like, you're like, oh, I have $1 million. And then you're like, but I really don't have $1 million.
Yeah.
One, I got to pay it back.
Yeah.
And then number two, it's not mine.
Yeah.
You know, everyone said I'd feel better when we started raising money, and I was like, okay, I've done that 3 or 4 times. I don't feel any better. I still look and go, it's not mine.
It's a constant raise thing too. But you know, we got some great investors.
You have great backers.
We got some great investors.
You really do.
We've got a single GP, but a really well-known VC out of Manhattan, Looking Glass Capital, and he was our first
You really like them, yeah.
real conviction. Early on, got our round started and kind of coached us in VC too. Coached me. We got a great group out of Miami who backs just SaaS companies, and another well-known pre-seed company out of LA, Amplify. So we've got some great. And so far, the VC track has been good.
It's a good track.
It's been good. We'll see.
Well, I think venture gets a lot of hate, but some of it's deserved, but some of it's just, you know, normal crap. I mean, obviously, we started a venture fund.
Yeah.
We like it.
Yeah. The real authentic VC people are amazing. And then there's the other side of VC.
Then there's the other side.
Then there's the other side.
Then there's okay, so we're almost done, but I just kind of wanted to go through a few more things. Tell me like where customers can get a hold of you if they're interested in talking about your solution, or they're interested in talking to you.
Well, you can go to my LinkedIn page,
Awesome.
Patrick Bruce, and you can book an appointment with me today.
Bam!
Get access to one of the founders. You can do the same thing with Rachel Brown. Look us up on LinkedIn, or you can go to TitanIntake.com.
Oh yeah. Well, hey man, thanks for spending some time with me.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me in your hangar. Thanks for having me hang in your hangar, man.
I love hanging out with founders. It's like hanging out with other guys that went in the Marine Corps. It's like you kind of been on this journey. Even though we did it at different times, you understand each other's pain, and there's a lot of empathy there. And then there's, you know, the road to encouragement. And I just hope that we can help you get more customers. I've enjoyed that. At the one you got down in Houston, they've communicated probably every 5 or 6 weeks about how happy they are.
That's awesome.
That's the kind of thing when you give someone a referral that you go, holy crap, dude, that's the best news ever. Because I talk to them pretty regularly, and when I hear from them, they're like, thank you for sending us Titan Intake.